Great, thank you. I'm going to call this meeting to order now. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Gibbons.
Here.
Councilmember McLean.
Here.
Councilmember Reinecker. Councilmember Schaefer.
Here.
Councilmember Zimmer.
Here.
Councilmember Jack Sadek.
Here.
Councilmember Litzo.
Here.
Thank you. We move into proclamations and presentations, and I do have a proclamation this evening that I have signed on to, and it's regarding a Small Business Saturday. So that's going to happen before we have another council meeting. So I just want to encourage everyone here to participate in Kirkwood in Small Business Saturday. It's celebrating small business and contributions that they make to our economy and community. According to the U.S. Small Business Administration, there are 34.7 million small businesses in the United States. Small businesses represent 99.7% of the firms with paid employees. Small businesses are responsible for 61.1 of net new jobs created. New businesses employ 45.9% of the employees in the private sector in the United States. Pretty strong piece of our economy, and we need to all support it. So thank you for considering that. All right, we'll now move into public hearings. At this time, the council will recess to conduct a public hearing regarding the request for a major site plan and special use permit amendment for a vehicle sale and rental for Lou Fuse Toyota at 10525 and 10725 Manchester Road. Mr. Hessel, would you like to wish to read something into the record?
I would, Mayor. It offers Exhibit 1, the affidavit of publication verifying notice of public hearing appeared in St. Louis County. And Exhibit 2 is the affidavit of publication verifying notice of this public hearing appeared in the Webster Kirkwood Times. Exhibit 3 is a list of property owners to whom notice of this hearing has been sent. Exhibit 4 is a viewer map showing the property that is the subject of the public hearing, as well as the surrounding properties that received notice of the hearing. Exhibit 5 is the subcommittee report of the Planning and Zoning Commission dated October 16, 2024. And Exhibit 6 is the report of the Planning and Zoning Commission dated October 17, 2024, in which by a vote of 8-0, the commission recommended approval of a major site plan and special use permit amendment for vehicle sale and rental for Lou Fuse Toyota at 10525 and 10725 Manchester Road. Exhibit 7 is the Code of Ordinances of the City of Kirkwood.
Thank you, Mr. Hessel. Mr. Hawes, who will present this issue to the City Council?
City Planner 2, Amy Lowry.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. 10725 Manchester Road is a 3.28 acre site for vehicle sales and rental, just east of Kirkwood Road. And 10525 Manchester Road is a 1.5 acre lot that contains buildings that recently housed a furniture store. Both properties are zoned B3 highway commercial. There is a 20-foot alley that runs along the north side of the sites. The residents that are north of Lou Fuse use that as an extension of their backyards, but at the east end of the alley, it's used as access to the 10525 site from Winchester. So the application is for demolition of most of the buildings on the site, except for the easternmost building, which is a 2-story building, and it will be used for a parts department. There's a front dock area, and there's also a dock on the back. The parking that is along Manchester Road and some of this landscaping here will remain with the plan. Just some photos of the front of the site, and then photos along the rear. There is a chain link fence that has some boards put in it along the access alley there. This is the proposed site plan. It shows the building remaining as well as new parking spaces created. Note 11 on the plan is for the existing rear fence, which is here, to be replaced with a 8-foot tall Simtech or approved equal. There is just a little bit of work going on, the 105-7 site. They are going to be changing over some of the parking spaces so that they have 4 ADA accessible spaces on this site. And then just where the 2 lots meet, there's a little bit of change in the parking on that end as well. But the 2 lots will be consolidated into 1 lot. And then just a floor plan for the 2-story parts department, but there will be no outside customer access. It's just internal to Lufuse. This is a landscape plan. As I said before, the bushes that are on the southeast portion of the site will remain, but then there'll be all new landscaping for the parking lot, including a required 10-foot buffer along Manchester and a required 7-foot buffer along the north part of the property. And so there'll be a total of 23 new trees and 32 new shrubs on the property. The required open space for the parking lot is 2,200 square feet, and they're providing 3,147 square feet. Let me back, I did forget this. On the plan, they are going to keep this entrance from Manchester, they're keeping it open, not for traffic, but just they don't want to close it because it's hard to get an entrance if you close it with MoDOT, but they're planning on putting some planters there and some striping so that people don't turn in there. And so this was just a detail on the planter. After you got the council packets, I did receive a compliant lighting plan so that you wouldn't have seen that, but that'll be in your packets for next week. So the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval, and some of their recommendations of note, they did want to require that the rear fence be replaced with the sound mitigating and site-proof fence, not less than 8 feet in height and made of Simtech or similar material. And that should include along the alley to the extension of the property line. Consolidation of both lots would be required. The street infrastructure and the driveway and apron from Linchester Road need to be repaired, and that should be done so in a manner approved by the city's engineering department. And no vehicle repair shall take place at the parts department. That was another one of the requirements that planning and zoning wanted. And so this is for both site plan review for the parking lot and also for special use permit review, because vehicle sale and rental is a special use permit in the city. So some of the criteria for site plan review, there are 19 of them. One being number 4, that the development meets all the requirements or conditions of any applicable development approvals. Number 16, fences and walkways are used as appropriate for protection and enhancement of the property, for the safety of pedestrians, and for the privacy of occupants of adjacent property. And then special use permit criteria, there are 14 here, such as number 5, which is special use shall have suitable landscaping, screening, and fencing when deemed necessary by the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, and the applicant is here as well.
Does the applicant want to say something?
Hi, thank you for listening to the proposal. I'm Paul Fuse on behalf of Lufuse Toda and Lufuse Properties. We're happy to be here tonight. And just thank you for your time. Lufuse has been operating in Kirkwood since 1979. We're looking forward to another, 45 years of business in Kirkwood. So thank you very much.
What generation are you, Paul?
Third.
Wow. Does council have any questions?
Question. I do.
Yes, Councilmember Letzow.
Oh, and I don't know if it would be for you, Paul, or for Amy. Well, actually, this might be one that, I mean, the basic intent of this is for storage of additional inventory, or
It's
what?
for parts. So Lufuse Toyota Park.
Well, for the two-story building, but all of the, you're raising a lot of the existing structures and it's just going to be striped for parking
Yes.
of
New vehicles.
new vehicles. Uh-huh. I mean, because I was wondering, we went from Phillips Furniture that's been sort of, or the most recent Ashley that's been in Kirkwood for decades as well. And just wondering as far as highest and best use of the property, but I think you've answered that question, that you're
Yep.
basically expanding your capacity of new car sales and whatever else.
Yes, that's correct. When Phillips sold to DSG Group out of Memphis, the Phillips family looked to sell the property, and we purchased the property from them approximately 5 years ago with the intent that if they ever did leave, we would expand into it. And they gave notice end of last year they wanted to vacate the property, so
Mhm.
we took it over first quarter of this year and have been going through the process since.
Mhm. Do you still intend to have the property across Kirkwood Road with the used car? I think
We
that.
are not sure. So that property is owned by different ownership. That is, we actually lease that property, do not
Yeah.
own that property. So that's a different ownership. But we are currently under a lease there, but I
Yeah.
don't know, long-term wise, I mean, I think the access to cars has gotten a little shaky since the pandemic. So, you know, we'd like to stay there, but we're not certain if it's gonna be a long-term stay or not.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Well, and I don't know if this is planning and zoning or you just offering to do this, but I appreciate the sound suppression fence wall in back along to help protect the residents on Woodbridge. So I didn't have to make an issue out of that. It's kind of one of my things. Um, Amy, I was just wondering, at P and Z meetings, did you have residents coming forward with any kind of questions or issues?
We had no members of the public that had anything to
Okay.
say on that subject.
And I saw that engineering had some comments. I'm not sure exactly what's going on. This has to do with Winchester or water.
There's some damage to the street because all of the water runoff was piped to our street. So it all came at that point, and that needs to be fixed.
Mhm.
And then the alley is being used basically as a driveway to this property. So that needs to be fixed as well.
And that alley is, I mean,
Private owned.
yeah.
It's the city's right of way,
Okay, but primarily used to access.
primarily used to access this site, and then the rest of the alley westward is used as an extension of the backyards of all of those houses.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, okay. Can you explain about the tree study and all of that? I mean, is that just basically the landscape plan? Because it
There
seemed to
is
be
a tree
connected with each home.
Yeah, there's a tree study in your packet for the trees that are basically in the alley that are being used by the residents. And there's no trees on this property that are being preserved, but just to make sure that those trees get preserved when there's any work done.
Oh, okay, that was just preservation, not
Yes.
like you need to put a tree here. Because I was.
No, all the
wasn't
trees
really-
are on the landscape plan that come with the parking lot.
Okay, okay. I think that's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. I do have a question about the fencing. So the fence is going to be replaced behind what was Phillips.
Correct.
Is anything going west of there?
Well, it goes all the way to the property of the Lufuse. Now, they have a fence, they have a wooden fence there. P and Z did not. It's not in the worst shape, not in the best shape, but it's still functional. So P and Z did not make any recommendations to replace that
Okay.
fence.
The one we saw was pretty horrific looking.
The one
so-
on the photos is the one behind Phillips. Yes, it's in bad shape.
Okay, I just want to make sure that wasn't also behind
No.
Bluefields then. Okay, any other questions? Yes, Councilmember McLean.
Well, thank you for finally buying that land, I guess, without Seymour actually going out business signs.
Yeah.
Educate me just a little bit. Simtech, what is Simtech?
Simtech is a vinyl product that a lot of times has like concrete mixed in with it. So it's a little bit higher quality fence than just a vinyl fence. And a lot of times there's steel members within it as well.
How's that compared as far as sound control versus what you?
I mean, you'd get better sound control with a cement barrier for sure, but when we looked at this sound control for the fence that went in behind the marijuana dispensary, I think I recall it was like 95% sound dampening.
That's similar to what this,
Yeah, that was a Simtex set fence type sense.
then how's the performance guarantee?
So for major projects like this, we require a performance guarantee for what we consider the public improvements. So their engineer will give us a listing of how much they're going to, how much they see the costs of the paving, curb and gutter, saving trees, planting new trees. So they give us a whole estimate that our engineering department and our city forest to look at, and we approve that. And then they give us a performance guarantee, either in the form of cash or a letter of credit that we hold until the project is finished.
Require that of developers, like builders?
Home builders have a similar thing, but it's a lot less and it's a flat rate. It's like 5,000 per home.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions?
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about the lighting plan?
So anytime that a new parking lot or a new development is done, we do require the lighting be upgraded so that it meets our code, so that it's full cutoff, and that there's no bleeding over onto residential or other commercial properties. So they will be putting some wall packs on the building itself, and then they have some pole mounted lights in the parking lot.
So there won't be bleeding into
No.
the,
No, I can't, I mean, it's hard to see these numbers, but it needs to be at least 0.1 or 0 along the property line. And we look at that to make sure that that happens. And this is their planned lighting. Once the lighting goes in, we require an as-built lighting plan because sometimes the fixtures change positions or different fixtures are put in. And then we check that again to make sure there's no bleed off.
Any additional questions? Okay, we will now ask if there's any, move into the public comments. David, has anyone completed a card to speak on this subject?
Yes, Mayor and Council, there's a request from Daniel Smith.
Hi, Daniel. Just let us know what your address is.
My presentation. I appreciate it. I've appreciated Loop Views for a long time being there. I like the idea that they're doing this.
Do you live there? What's your address?
I've lived in 200 Woodridge at one
Okay.
point in 2016. I bought a house down the street at 230 Woodridge, which is right behind part of Ashley Furniture. And the lights have been a problem the entire time. The fence has been a problem the entire time. So kind of where it has the B in subject, that should be approximately 200 right there. And then 230 is right behind, it's the second house towards Linchester. So when the eclipse happened in 2016, my wife and I were home and the lights in the parking lot turned on during the day because it dimmed down outside. We couldn't see the eclipse at all because of the lights. Where we're at now, there's a light on the back of that building. And when the city of Kirkwood came and cut the trees down that we had blocking that along the fence line, they only cut them down halfway. It's just to where the fence is. So they cut them down to put new utility poles in. And now we have this security light behind there and it floods the entire back of my house. It goes right through our blinds.
Oh,
So you suggested that some of these lights would be I guess I forgot the terminology that you used, but they would be not invasive to our home.
Not bleeding.
Yes, not bleed.
Okay.
That would be appreciated very
Okay.
much. The Simtech that you discussed with the fence is a big upgrade of what we have right now. My fence, the wooden slats, they're like very thin wooden slats that go through the existing chain link fence are probably 30 years old. I know at one point in time, there was a fire that was in between Stash and Ashley, because I put it out myself with my hose.
Hmm.
Um, it's not in good condition. So when you tear down the fence, I guess you're gonna completely tearing down the fence.
You know, David, you should be addressing us
Oh, I'm
and
sorry.
not staff. That's okay.
Okay, so I would appreciate if they would, when they tear down the fence, they would build it up higher, maybe 10 feet, so that we wouldn't have any bleed through as much as possible. And then I can replant privacy greenery of some kind in my yard. That would be greatly appreciated, because right now it's not doing the job at all. And one more thing, there is when they put in the new utility poles, electrical poles on the property line on the Lufuse side, they didn't remove them from our backyards. So I have 6 neighbors that have utility poles that do nothing right now. So I was wondering, whoever's in charge of the council, maybe you could speak to whomever is in charge of that and have those removed as part of this project to be done by next year. And with that, that is all I have to say. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for coming tonight and addressing us. Any additional comments, David?
Mayor and council, there are no additional requests for comment on this item.
Hearing no further discussion, this public hearing is now closed. The bill will be on the December 5th council meeting agenda for the first reading consideration. Thanks for coming. All right. Now, we're going to recess for another public hearing. A request for a zoning code text amendment to add tattoo body piercing studio as a special use in the B3 zoning district to change the the use specific standards in section 2535 BB. Mr. Hessel, do you wish to enter anything into the record?
I do, Mayor.
Okay.
Exhibit 1 is an affidavit of publication verifying the notice of this public hearing appeared in the St. Louis County. And I'd also note that included in that affidavit of publication is the request for a special use permit for a tattoo/body piercing studio at 112 Manchester Road. Although the issues are not tied necessarily together, planning and zoning and staff agrees with the recommendation that the city council consider the text amendment and the request for the special use permit contemporaneously. So we will, all of the exhibits and all the comments and presentations that is occurring in this public hearing will appear what is scheduled in the next public hearing, which is the special use permit request. Exhibit 2 is an affidavit of publication verifying the notice of public hearing appeared in the Webster Kirkwood Times. And again, the notice of the public hearing associated with the special use permit for the tattoo body piercing studio at 11212 Manchester Road was part of that notice of public hearing as well. Exhibit 3 is a list of property owners to whom notice of this hearing has been sent. Exhibit 4 is a viewer map showing the property that is the subject of the public hearing, as well as the surrounding properties. Exhibit 5 is a report of the Planning and Zoning Commission, report of the Subcommittee Report of the Planning and Zoning Commission dated October 16, 2024, concerning the zoning code text amendment as well as the special use permit for the tattoo body piercing studio. And Exhibit 6 is a report of the Planning and Zoning Commission in which they voted by a vote of 6-2, recommended approval of the zoning code text amendment to add tattoo body piercing studio as a special use in the B3 zoning district and to change the use specific standards in section 25, that's 36 BB. They also voted by a vote of 6-2 that the commission the commission recommended approval of a special use permit for the tattoo body piercing studio at 11212 Manchester Road. And Exhibit 7 is the Code of Ordinances of the City of Kirkwood.
Thank you, Mr. Hessel. Mr. Hawes, who will present this issue to the city council?
That would be City Planner 2, Amy Lowry.
Good evening again. So tattoo studio was added to the zoning code a few years ago, only in the B2 Central Business District downtown for a downtown business. This proposal is to change the definition from a tattoo studio to a tattoo/body piercing studio. And so the blue portion of this is what is already in the definition, and the red portion would be adding the, basically the body piercing part of that, which is creation of a opening in the body of a person other than an ear for the insertion of jewelry. And establishments that offer ear piercing services in conjunction with the sale of jewelry, but no other body piercing should be considered as a retail business. The P and Z added that last qualification to the definition to distinguish body piercing from an ear piercing. So right now, tattoo studio is a special use in the B2, which is the downtown district. This proposal is to add tattoo body piercing studio as a special use in the B3 district. B3 is our highway business district, and most of it is along Manchester Road. There are portions down on Big Bend, and there are some scattered little lots that are also B3 in other places in the city. But B3 is supposed to encourage commercial services and retail facilities that serve customers traveling major streets. Just back to this chart, when we look at this and we see it's a special use permit, we can also look at there may be some use specific standards that apply to this use. And so the applicant did make some requests to change the use specific standards, and planning and zoning change those further, but the ones that are coming before you are for the tattoo studio that we have was had a minimum distance of 1,000 feet from other tattoo studios. And then the tenant space was supposed to have a maximum first floor street frontage of 8 feet. So the proposal here is to still keep the 1,000 feet distance, but have the first floor maximum 8-foot frontage only apply in the B2 downtown district. So the P and Z desired to continue to regulate the density of these businesses by requiring a minimum distance between them, and they felt 1,000 feet was adequate. But they didn't feel like the maximum street frontage should apply on properties that are along, highway oriented streets like Manchester Road and Big Bend Boulevard. So should the tattoo body piercing change be made in the code, the applicant is also requesting a special use permit for a tattoo body piercing location on Manchester Road. It's in a strip center that is right here. It's zone B3 highway commercial. It's on the south side of Manchester Road, west of Geyer. And then just a little bit zooming in on the view of the site, and a photo of the front of the property. This is a site plan from a few years ago when Maverick Jewelry went into the building, but not much has changed since then. And the applicant is proposing to occupy 11212, which actually right now is part of the Needle Clubhouse, which will be Needle Point Clubhouse, excuse me, which will be vacating the premises. So she's going to have about 1,000 square feet. And the Planning and Zoning Commission did, for the special use permit, put in some conditions for that. And those would be the hours of operation permitted as 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Saturday. No procedure areas shall be visible from the outside of the building. The applicant's required to provide a bicycle rack accommodating 2 bicycles unless waived by City Council, and the Architectural Review Board should approve all signs. Again, this is a special use permit, so we would look at the criteria for the approval of that, such as number 7, which is the proposed use would be harmonious with the existing or intended character of the general vicinity. And there are 14 special use permit criteria. I'm available to answer any questions, and the applicant would like to make a presentation.
We have the applicant make the presentation.
Thank you. Hello, Mayor. Hello, council members. Thank you for having me. Before I go into reading my presentation, I want to express much gratitude for having the opportunity to speak to you and for everyone that may be stepping up to speak for me tonight. It would truly be a blessing for the single mom to be able to bring my craft of 17 years to the town where my child and I have lived since 2013. I would also be honored to be able to serve my neighbors without having to send them afar. I'd like to be able to give back to my community and become involved as a valued business. From sponsorships to donations to our beloved Green Tree Parade and Festival, I'm really looking forward to all the ways that I can authentically contribute through my business. I wholeheartedly understand that body modification may not resonate with everyone, so I do hope that I can provide some insight for anyone that may have some concerns. As some already know, tattooing itself is a deeply rooted art form that has a rich history in many cultures all around the world. And for ages, tattoos have symbolized milestones, told stories, and in some traditions are a great honor. It continues to evolve today as a powerful medium of self-expression and creativity, provided now by licensed skilled artists who treat their work with the same level of respect as any other professional. Our work is held to high standards under the eye of local and state health departments, with safety and integrity now growing stronger with thanks to recently added support of the FDA. For many people, tattoos are not just decorations, they are more often than not deeply personal and very meaningful. I've worked with people who have chosen tattoos to commemorate significant life events like the birth of a child, but most commonly the loss of a loved one. Many people also come to me as a part of their healing journey after overcoming trauma, which is definitely a part of my job that I never underestimate or dismiss, because body modification of all sorts often represents empowerment. It also gives individuals the opportunity to reclaim their autonomy, pacify mental health, and tell their stories in ways that are truly transformative. I also understand that there can be concerns about how tattoos fit in the professional setting, but society is evolving. I work on successful, highly respected professionals in various industries, from surgeons to very many educators, including those in KSD, and even clergymen. Who all proudly wear their art without it affecting their competence, professionalism, or faith. This considered, we should be recognizing people for their skills, character, and contributions, and not by their appearances. As a progressive and accepting community, I believe it's our responsibility to embrace diversity. Let's eliminate outdated stigmas and ensure that no one is discriminated against for how they choose to express themselves, because you see, this isn't just about body art. It's about standing for the values of inclusion and acceptance. I'm gonna cry. Respect for every person's unique journey. So I am not just simply here to open a studio. I'm here to create a space that fosters healing as well as personal and community growth. My goal is to provide a holistic therapeutic environment where individuals can embrace their own stories on their terms with the support of trained professionals. With this perspective, maybe you can understand the value of the studio to community, and not just as a business, but as a space for empowerment and expression. It's my hope that we can move forward with mutual respect for each other's journey, embracing the diversity that strengthens Kirkwood. Thank you so much for lending me your ears and holding space for my words.
Thank you very much.
I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about Eclipse Holistic Tattoo.
Okay, well, let's, does council have any questions? Councilmember McLean.
If you look for It's not about tattoos or not tattoos, but we allow tattoo parlors in Kirkwood, just
There was none. The one location was not an ideal location that was available outside that 1,000 feet distance from the one private location.
what space available. I mean, my hesitation is not so much tattoo parlor or tattoo. Having, apparently your storefront is not isn't large.
It's about 15.
So you'd have twice as much storefront window, special use permit and be do where we don't have to have the special use permit. Preferential treatment there.
The
Plus, you'd be getting preferential treatment on the 7,000 foot radius. That's where my concern is space available, and that's what.
Maybe a question for Amy. So we're adding the body piercing to this as part of it as well. Did we look at keeping those separate? And then how did we get to looking at expanding it to another district?
I'll just answer, but Rochelle may be able to add to that. The state and the county regulate them together. It is a tattoo body piercing license. So while Rochelle is not personally going to do any body piercing, she would like to have the option of that. And then I think your second question was,
But along those lines, but it doesn't necessarily make them go together in terms of an ordinance, does it?
I mean, it's the same license. So, and they're both, you know, the same type of body modification. Thank you.
establishment licenses. My request was simply just so that I could have the opportunity to hire someone because large percentage of tattoo studios that offer piercing find 70 to 80% of the our patrons looking.
Great.
So
But
that-
it is
that was just my-
it's
my-
a separate professional license.
For
Okay.
individuals, yes, but as far as like the establishment and the health department, it's all under the same.
And then again, how we got to moving it to B3 and different things for B2 and B3 and how did we get that moving forward?
But
You know, again, I mean, we have it allowed in B2. So what brought us to now wanting to expand to another business district? How did they, I mean, did you approach the city and the city worked with you on this or just trying to understand even more our city process for that?
So this is Rochelle's application to amend the code and to then get a special use permit for this tenant space that she has looked into on Manchester Road and has signed a lease if this proposal goes forward.
And I'm separating out the SUP, I get that. So it's really just now, because, you know, the first step, obviously, we have to decide is, are we going to expand this to other business districts? So trying to separate, I know we've combined them a little bit in terms of, and then giving you the SUP, but just what got here, it was her application in the city put that forth.
No, it's just her application. So she applied to amend the code as well. So anybody can apply to amend the code. So she, like many applicants do, they come to city staff and say, here's what I want to do. Is it allowed? And if not, what do I need to do to make it allowed? So as Amy mentioned, she wants, and Rochelle mentioned as well, she wants the ability to do piercing. So that requires amending the definition in the code. So she applied and paid the fee and is going through the process and it's her request. City staff just advises the applicant on what steps they need to take to do that. Then we bring it to the Planning and Zoning Commission and go through that whole process. So the city did not instigate any of this. She told us what she needed. We told her what she would need to do in order to achieve her goal.
So each one of her steps, and again, this is helpful because we get more and more of these coming across where it's petitioner driven.
Mhm.
And so she requested to add the body piercing and then requested another zoning change to allow this in B3 that.
It's all one application for text amendments. You can amend it to approve a piece and not another piece. We wrapped it in one application for text amendments, all related to the same request,
Okay,
right? Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
All right, great, thank you.
That's all. Thank you, Mayor. Just to clarify, Amy, the P and Z subcommittee report talks about in the B3's district, there would be a 7,000-foot.
No, that was the original request that Rochelle made. And the
Okay,
P and Z said, you know what, that's too far.
okay,
We just want, we'll just go with the 1,000 square feet that was already in the code.
okay.
So
good
I'm sorry
answer.
if that was
Good-
confusing.
Good answer. It was confusing.
Yes,
Because I was like,
apologize for that.
why, that, to Mark's point, it's like kind of unfair to anybody else who wants to
Sure.
open.
And it is also a special use permit already in
Yeah,
B2.
okay.
So anybody wanting to open a new one would still have to come up here to get that special use
Uh-huh.
permit.
Super. Okay. And county health department regulates both the tattooing and body piercing aspect of this. So, and you're not calling it body art. It's still called tattooing, right? Or both? Yeah. Do you also, imagine that your services also include like permanent makeup, or is it?
If I have the opportunity to hire a permanent makeup artist, I would love to have one in my studio.
And then kind of medical applications? Medical applications, like, for example, not to get too personal, but women who've had mastectomies.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Most permanent makeup artists are working towards things like that. And yes, I mean, a lot of those ladies come in and ask for more ornamental stuff
Mm-hmm.
than what you would expect. So,
Oh.
absolutely,
Yeah.
you know, if the opportunity arises.
Mm-hmm. Amy, what was the resistance of 2 members of P and Z against this?
One did not give an explanation and the other said that they thought this was more appropriate for the industrial district.
Okay. Right. Bike rack on Manchester Road.
For a special use permit, when our code was written, if you are putting in a new special use permit, that you are required to have a bike
Automatically
rack. So
goes
that's
in
why I
there.
put if council
Yeah.
wants to waive that,
Yeah.
so that can be waived.
Well, and did P and Z discuss waiving it?
They did not.
Do they normally?
Well, the
cons-
code says that it has to be waived by council, so.
So they wouldn't make a recommendation to us. I mean, to me, Manchester Road is a little bit dicey to be riding bicycles at the moment.
Yeah.
We don't have protected bike lanes, so I don't know if we'd want to consider. I'd like some thoughts from somebody more versed in this whole thing, but my first, kind of impulse would be to not require it.
Okay.
Let's see. I think with underage, like under 18, you need parental permission. Is that still true?
Yes, there needs to be notarized consent from parent and parent and guardian must be present. Generally, most studios will only provide services for 16 and 17, but that has to be with parent or guardian's notarized consent, and they do have to be present.
And present on,
There also has to be a sign upon entry.
Yeah.
By state law, there has to be a sign that says that no one under the 18 can receive procedures. Mhm.
Okay.
So
You also do like henna things, or this is all permanent?
it would be all permanent.
Mm-hmm. So can you tell me, I don't understand the healing arts aspect of your services. Is that because of the body art and maybe commemoration or a symbology or whatever,
Sure.
but do you do other kinds of?
Me, yeah, I personally, I've held a yoga certification since 2016. I've learned a lot about somatic healing. I've taken meditation courses and breathwork courses, and I've found that I've been able to utilize those things with my clients, and my clients have been able to sit for longer sessions, feel better about themselves in their sessions. Just being able to use those with my clients and being able to really hone in on that service for my clients in my own space. I think that's where that all comes from. So.
Okay. That's all I have for now. Thank you. The picture that you have here, is this what you anticipate your studio looking like?
It is a beautiful, hopeful idea of what I would like for my space to look like. It is an AI generated image, but it is what I would like for my, it's my dream and my hope that I would like for my space to look like. Mhm.
I think one of the things that, I think tattoo parlors, or if that's what we call them these days, get a bad rap because they don't look nice.
Right. And that's
Uh,
my goal. My goal is to have something that's very inviting, something that's very welcoming to some people that do have that fear. With my healing arts stuff, like it's been like my goal to help ease anxiety for clients coming in and to really to show people that tattooing and body mod's not that scary and that it's open for all people. So if I can create a spa-like environment, that's what I would like for people to see when they come in.
It's a good goal. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Thank you.
Thank
We'll
you.
move into public comments now. David, has anyone filled out a card to speak regarding this proposal?
Mayor and council, there are some requests. The first is Jessica DeClue Gardner.
Jessica, please give us your name and address, please.
So I'm Jessica DeClue Gardner and my address is 7917. I am not a Kirkwood resident. I do, however, consider myself a part of the Kirkwood community. Through childhood and adolescence, I was a member of Job's Daughters International. This meant that every Tuesday evening was spent in a chapter meeting at the Kirkwood Masonic Lodge. Through this youth group, I spent much of my free time in Kirkwood for various meetings, fundraisers, and social events. This is also where I met Rochelle and their kid. 10 years later, after aging out of the organization, I still feel like a Kirkwood community member. The Kirkwood Target is the closest one to my house. The Andy's Frozen Custard probably has my order memorized. My daughter takes swimming lessons in Kirkwood. My book club meets at various restaurants and coffee shops. And most importantly, the woman I consider a sister and her kid that I love as my own live in Kirkwood. Through all of the ties that bind me to Kirkwood, I've learned that this is a really strong and diverse city that fosters individuality while bringing people together. Kirkwood values tradition, respects heritage, and yet progresses gracefully with our ever-changing world. I know firsthand that the same could be said for Rochelle and her art. For the past 8 years, I've seen Rochelle grow in her practice of tattooing and continue to expand her clientele, her portfolio, and her knowledge of the history and beauty of tattooing. She's also an advocate for others to expand their knowledge on the topic through her spotlight visits to various other shops, her participation in national conventions, and her donation of sessions as well as funds to various local organizations. I actually took part in one of her ongoing contribution efforts to the St. Louis Zoo. She calls this Tattoo the Zoo. Although you can't see it now, I have two wonderful art pieces from Michelle, and one is a giant cuddly polar bear based off of Kali at the zoo. This is more than just a super cool art piece to honor my family and child. It is also a donation to the zoo's continual education and research from Rochelle's personal earnings. The tattoo industry is progressing along with all other things in this world. What was once a stigma and a hated art has become so much more. Tattoos are now a way of honoring our traditions, highlighting heritage, and a display of beauty and love. I cannot imagine a better person than Rochelle to represent all that tattooing and Kirkwood could be in collaboration. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you.
Adam Wright.
Name.
Good evening, council. My name is Adam Wright. I live at 810 Evergreen Forest Drive, which is actually in St. Peters. I'm here today on behalf of Rochelle. Her and I have been friends, and I've been a client of hers for nearly a decade. So her and I have had a long history. I know I only have about 3 minutes to talk about a person that's been an incredible influence in my life, so I'll get right to it. When I think about Rochelle's professionalism, the word invested comes to mind. Rochelle is connected with thousands of different people who share passion for art and creativity by investing not only in her craft, but most importantly, the comfort, safety, and satisfaction of all of her clients. As a person who has many tattoos, I continue to work with Rochelle year after year because she takes thorough concern in making sure my ideas are understood before bringing them to life, oftentimes exceeding my expectations completely. When I sit down in Rochelle's chair, I'm able to relax knowing that my concerns have been addressed and that she is always attentive to my needs as a client. Rochelle has been both an inspiration in my life and a dear friend. Her passion and acuity for various art forms showcases as a trademark of her fun and creative personality. From her ability to share her talents, she helps to brighten the lives of those around her on a daily basis. Another consideration, as mentioned in Rochelle's presentation, is the increasing popularity of tattoos. According to the Pew Research Center, in 2012, approximately 21% of Americans had a tattoo. That number in 2023 had risen to 32%. Obviously showcasing a growing trend in American culture for the acceptance of tattoos. Above all, the reason I stand here and believe that Rochelle will be a beneficial addition to the Kirkwood business community is not because of her tattoos or her art or because of business, but rather it's her nature as a caring, respectful, and passionate individual that I believe is most valuable to our communities. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Christian Bailey.
Good evening, council. My name is Christian Bailey. I'm not a Kirkwood resident. I'm from 209 Prestwick Lane, St. Charles. I am in the plumbing industry. I've worked for both of the major plumbing companies, Plumber Supply, Wholesale Supply. We are very strong union-based. We have a lot of strong union construction workers and plumbers who come through across the country to come be in a St. Louis metropolitan area because we are such a strong union. We support local business. Our plumbers, our construction workers like to come to us because we're local and we like to support our locals. And a lot of these guys, and they come in day in and out, whether it's your old, it's just a regular elderly person, or whether it's a major company like PPC, Hoffman, Jarrell, or any of those companies. These guys come in, day out, piercings, tattoos, and these are all professionals. These are the professionals that you allow to build your buildings, who work in your homes to fix your plumbing. They install your heating and they install your cooling as well as your electronics. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much.
Very well.
Piper Akali.
Good evening, council.
Good evening.
I live at 3385 Tree Court Lane, so I'm a Kirkwood resident. And I'm obviously tattooed. I'm not really here to talk to you about tattoos tonight, though. I feel like that's really been covered by everybody. What I want to represent is not only small business in Kirkwood, but women owned and women founded businesses in Kirkwood. so I'm not only a resident, I'm part of the community. I teach yoga at a woman-owned yoga studio in Kirkwood. And my full-time day job is my partner and I operate a small landscaping business that was actually founded by his mom almost 40 years ago now. And that is also based in Kirkwood. I've known Rochelle personally and professionally. She is a dedicated and visionary professional. She is already very successful. And what I see is that she could bring that success back to our own community. I think that approving this would give Kirkwood residents a chance to basically stay within their own community. I know Rochelle has clients here already that she has to take elsewhere or send elsewhere when they could stay local and stay within the community. And again, I'm just in full support of the approval here. I would love to see more small businesses be able to succeed here in Kirkwood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rochelle Wilson.
Council. So as a fellow Rochelle, I am in full support of her. My daughter is actually close friends with her child, which is how I met her. I found out that she's a tattoo artist. I think she does great work, but I also want to echo what was just said. I'm in full support of this, but also mostly because it's a woman-owned business. We only have one other tattoo place and it is owned by a man, and I would like to have a woman-owned one, even though I have also done business with him as well. So I would be happy to see this approved and in our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Igal Alum.
My name is Igal. I live in 13029 Fern Trails in Kirkwood, in Creve Court, sorry. I was here, I'm actually going to talk, everybody I think did an amazing job, and I'm here on behalf of the landlord. I own the building. I was the one that actually remodeled it, so I've been in this committee many times for the remodel of this building, for my own business that used to be in Kirkwood, Maverick Jewelry for I think about 12 years in Kirkwood. I was actually in both zones. I was right across City Hall here at Station Plaza, and I was also residing that place itself. Now it's the title company of Freedom Title. So as a landlord, I'm just going to be very brief. I think that when we're looking at tenants, you know, there is a lot more to look like. When you're looking at commercial tenant, there's more than just what the numbers have to offer. You have to look at the tenant itself, its personality, the way they carry themselves and their business. I think, as you can all see, we were highly impressed by Rochelle and her artistic and the way that she carried the business. I know that that addition will be a jewel that will side very nicely in front of all the prime business that will be occupying currently the plaza now and in the future. I always look at that when I look at businesses. I want to make sure that they're going to be a good fit to the community. And as I mentioned, I think that will be an honor for us to have her in as a tenant and as a part of our plaza. And I think that's the same thing for Kirkwood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Donna Luckett.
Hi, my name's Donna Luckett. I live at 7949 Pine Top in Oakville, so I'm not a Kirkwood resident. But Rochelle, like everyone keeps saying, started tattooing me about 2 years ago. And since then, I feel like we've definitely formed like a good friendship. We both have teenage children going through all of those phases. So that's been nice to have somebody connect to on that level. Between her like holistic healing, I do feel 100% comfortable being with another woman while I am getting tattooed. Just from my arms, my legs, I don't have anywhere else, but it's just comforting knowing that I can go in there and talk to her and not have other men or either females like just judging, but just super comfortable. And I hope she gets approved in Kirkwood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ryan Phelan.
Good evening, City Council members, and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Ryan Phelan. I also live at 7949 Pine Top in Oakville, but I had the pleasure of working here at Doc's Harley Davidson when it was ran by Patty Bush. I also spent a lot of time here enjoying the events, local restaurants, and the vibrant community that makes Kirkwood so unique. Tonight, I'd like to talk about why a tattoo shop opening in Kirkwood is not only a positive addition, but a reflection of the values and the diversity of the city it represents. Tattoos are an art form, one of the oldest in human history, connecting cultures and stories from around the world. Today, tattoos are widely embraced by people from all walks of life. Doctors, teachers, business owners, parents, law enforcement, and veterans. They're a way of individuals to express themselves, commemorate milestones, and carry meaningful stories with them. Rochelle is not just opening a business, she's opening the door for creativity, entrepreneurship, and connection. Women entrepreneurs bring innovation and resilience for their industries. And this shop represents an opportunity to strengthen the community by supporting local business. For those who may view tattoos as low class, I encourage them to consider this. Every thriving city needs variety. A tattoo shop isn't just about tattoos. It's about art, commerce, and offering a service that many in the community are excited for. It's also an opportunity to draw in visitors from surrounding areas who will spend money at other local businesses like restaurants and shops. This isn't about whether or not you like tattoos personally, it's about supporting small businesses. Empowering women entrepreneurs and recognizing diversity in business makes the city more inclusive. To the critics, I ask, is the goal to preserve Kirkwood as it is, or to help it grow into a place where everyone feels welcome and represented? Because I believe this tattoo shop just does that. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Mayor and council, there are no additional requests for comment at this time.
Are there any additional questions from anyone here, council members? Okay. Then, hearing no more discussion, this public hearing is now closed. The bill will be on the December 5th council meeting agenda for first reading consideration. Now, at this time, the council will recess to conduct a public hearing regarding the request for a special use permit for tattoo and body piercing studio at 11212 Manchester Road. Now, you all don't have to talk again. Mr. Hessel, do you wish to enter any exhibits into the record?
I would, Mayor. As I mentioned at the commencement of the prior public hearing, all the exhibits that were entered in the prior public hearing are part of this public hearing as well. Those included exhibits 1 through 7, as well as the presentation from staff and the applicant, as well as the comments and questions from the city council, including the comments from the members of the audience.
Okay. So we have, okay. Hearing no further discussion, this public hearing is now closed. The bill will be on the December 5th council meeting agenda for the first reading consideration. Great. Thank you all. Now we're going to move into public comments in general.
The public comments portion of the meeting is an opportunity for the city council to listen to comments from citizens. It is not a question and answer session, and the city council will not respond to comments or answer questions during this period. The mayor may refer any matter brought up to the city council to the chief administrative officer or city clerk if action is needed.
David, has anyone filled out a comment card who wishes to make a public comment?
Mayor and council, there are no requests for comment at this time.
All right, we will move to the consent agenda. Is there a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda?
Motion.
Are there any questions or comments? All in favor of approval of the consent agenda, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Consent agenda passes. Now we'll move into unfinished business. Bill 11052.
Mayor and council, this is an ordinance changing the zoning from B1 Neighborhood Commercial District to R5 Multifamily Residential District on the property known as 430 South Clay Avenue, being an approximately 0.52 acre site on the east side of South Clay Avenue and directing such change in the zoning district map.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments on Bill 11052? Roll call, please.
Mayor Gibbons?
Yes.
Councilmember McLean? Councilmember Reinecker? Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer?
Yes.
Councilmember Jack Sadek?
No.
Councilmember Lizzo?
Yes. Bill 11052 has passed final reading. Bill 11053.
Mayor and Council, this is an ordinance amending the provisions of the Municipal Code, Chapter 25, zoning and subdivision by changing the use-specific standards for the personal and commercial service use in the B2 Central Business District.
Are there any questions or comments on Bill 11053? Roll call, please.
Mayor Gibbons?
Yes.
Councilmember McLean? Councilmember Reinecker? Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer?
Yes.
Councilmember Jack Sadek?
Yes.
Councilmember Lizzo?
Yes. Bill 11053 has passed final reading. Moving into new business, Bill 11055.
Mayor and Council, this is an ordinance amending the provisions of the Municipal Code, Chapter 25, zoning and subdivision for garage design and setback in residential districts in Section 2548F in the RMM Missing Middle Residential District.
Do I have a motion and a second to accept Bill 11055 for first reading approval?
So move.
Second.
Okay, are there any questions or discussion comments?
I have a question. Apply for, I guess, Amy. If I'm looking at this right, the legislation request, which is from JKL Investments, talks about when the lot is less than 65 feet in width. And then we go from that. So I'm assuming their lot is 65 feet or less.
It is less than 65 feet. It's about 61.
Okay, but then the ordinance is requesting 75, less than 75 feet.
That is correct because the Planning and Zoning Commission looked at narrow lots and decided that really any lot less than 75 feet in width was going to have trouble with either putting a 22-foot wide drive aisle to the back for a rear garage, or if they did not do that, then having enough width left to do a project that had garage of less than 55% on the front facade.
We're asking, so P and Z then is asking for more than what the applicant.
That's correct.
Additional questions?
I just, again, a comment, as we look at these zoning code changes, I mean, it impacts everything that's zoned as RMM. And I get there are properties that have this, I'd like the plan potentially for that piece of property and get why maybe the rezoning is requested for it. But again, when we make a code change that impacts all of the properties, regardless of their circumstance to fit that. And I, at this point, still struggle with us opening up big code changes in groups of these districts. Because again, I get an individual property owner's struggles. But again, it opens beyond just this one piece of property.
There is only one property zoned RMM in the city right now.
Right, but that doesn't mean it won't happen again.
Correct.
So again, it's setting the stage going forward. As long as we have these districts and opportunities to rezone. And again, we're seeing a lot coming before the council now, asking for text amendment, zoning code changes beyond just the special use permit, and the things that used to kind of go to Board of Adjustment now seem to be coming back to the council for things that have impact beyond just this one applicant. So, that concerns me. I mean, I get the rationale behind it. If it was only going to be one applicant from here on out, that's a different discussion, but it has the potential to ripple effect across the city. And, we spent a lot of time years ago with that garage facing, the forward facing garages on the streetscape. And, there was good reason back then to do it. And I'm not quite sure there's good reason to turn it over. Just my comments.
Can I ask a procedural question?
Sure.
I'm totally in favor of this for this particular lot, 61 feet. I think it makes all the sense in the world. But now it's presented to us for 75 feet. So my question is can I make a motion to amend the ordinance to 65 feet, say? One?
Yeah, you
I mean,
can.
I don't, what's
Motion.
the,
You'd make a motion to amend the section of the code. I've got to find the reference to the 75 more. Help me, Amy, where?
It's in the ordinance. It's section 25-48F. And right now the proposal is on the first paragraph for lots that are less than 75 feet in width. So you would just amend that to,
Sorry, you're right. So Mark, you'd be amending section 1 to amend which references subsection F to change the language from lots that are less than 75 feet to,
I would say 65 or.
okay. Then you need a second for that.
Second.
Hold on, you said
Five.
65?
That gives them some leeway on
that gives him leeway. I'm not quite sure on the width of the lot. I believe it's about 61, but if it's 62, you don't want to.
Yeah, so 65 gives them some bounce.
Right, so there should be discussion on the motion to amend.
Who was
Now that
my
we're-
second? I'm sorry. Okay, thank you.
No problem.
I like that. I mean, so I think it's a good compromise. And was it 65 and less? So it included 65? Is that how that will read?
Yes.
So it's not less than 66, but 65 or less. Okay.
Correct.
I
Less
think,
than.
again, less than, I think it's good for this piece to be able to go forward and gives us some opportunity to look at it as other things pop up.
Councilman Reinecker, did you?
I agree with Gina. I mean, it narrows his concern about this getting out of hand. This makes that less likely.
I have, yes, lots that are less than 65.
65
Or
or
less.
less.
That's why I wanted to know if it was 65
That's
or
what I
less.
was-
My motion would be for 65 or less, because I believe there's a
Or
lot of
less.
65.
Okay,
Right.
Okay.
staff, you okay with that? Understood. I guess I was asking, okay with the language? Okay.
Mark's good.
Okay, any other, oh, yes, Mark.
Yes, thank you. I get the concern. My question would be, if somebody has a 68-foot lot, have we identified how many lots the 75-foot would apply to in Kirkwood that could be RMM?
No, we haven't identified those.
I mean, that would be the first step, is to identify how many lots that this would apply to if 65 is satisfactory even.
Well, that
Um,
would be really hard to do because
it would- so if
I
somebody
don't know
has a
what
s-
would be,
somebody has a
potential
68
RMM
foot-
lots.
Somebody has a 68-foot lot and they wanted to do this, let's say this particular lot was 68 feet wide, couldn't do it, they would have to come.
They'd have to come back and amend the code again, yes.
So I guess just a long-term view of this is, what's a percentage of this, getting out of hand versus if there's, maybe we identify 20 properties in the city that, we would look at this, then, maybe 75 feet isn't so bad. So that's just my point is, while we're doing this, that's great, but
Well, each
come back to-
RMM rezoning request would have to come before you. So you would know this is a lot that's this wide and this would be triggered on it if it's less than that.
So if there's a lot that's 68 feet, you have to go through this again and say, well,
Or
not.
we're not,
And how, I guess my point also in addition is how often is that going to happen?
I don't know.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay.
Maybe Jonathan.
What you got, John?
I don't have an answer for how many times it will happen, but I just want to make sure, and I wasn't here at the public hearing, so I apologize, but the question was asked about who made the jump to 75 and why. So I think Amy shared the diagrams and mentioned it just now in response to a question of 75 is the number that staff and Planning and Zoning Commission discussed where it would be feasible. That's the threshold where you could put a driveway next to the building, because that's the only alternative. If you can't have forward-facing garages, you have to do parking around the side or around the back. So the reason for 75 is because once you get above 75, you can get that driveway in next to it. So there was thought behind it. So P and Z, I will tell you, the P and Z Commission, every time we come with a text amendment, they say, okay, are we thinking about it long-term? Are we gonna get this again in 2 months and raise it by 1 foot? Do we want to keep doing that? Or can we look and say, what's really causing the problem? And it's the lot width. And when is that no longer a problem? And so what they determined was at 75 feet, you no longer have that problem. So I just want to make sure that's clear, the rationale that went through and was discussed by the subcommittee and the commission. So, thanks.
Well, and just to clarify, because RMM is a new zoning district or whatever, each time there's a request to rezone to RMM, it does come to us.
correct.
So you are basically reviewing it.
Every time
Yeah.
we will review it.
And I mean, I understand, possible reservations about this, but I also, in my view, I think we want to encourage RMM. I think it's a good thing. In the downtown master planning, process, it seemed like, a viable way of expanding housing choices in Kirkwood. So, and Jonathan's explanation, which answered my unasked question, seems very reasonable. So I'm fine with leaving it as it is. So,
Comments? Okay, we're voting on the motion and to amend, to change the, what, you want to read it?
Amend section 1, subsection F to change language that states lots that are less than 75 feet to 65 feet or less.
All in favor of first reading?
Oh, no, of the
All in
motion
favor
to
of
amend.
motion to amend, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Nay. Nay.
The motion to amend passes.
Okay. Okay, now, is there discussion on the bill? Any further discussion on the bill? Oh, okay. All in favor of Bill 11055, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Bill 11055 has
As
passed.
amended.
As amended, has passed first reading approval. Okay. Bill 11056.
Mayor and Council, this is an ordinance changing the zoning from R5 multifamily residential district to RMM missing middle residential district on the property known as 223 West Monroe Avenue, being an approximately 0.21 acre site on the north side of West Monroe Avenue, and directing such change in the zoning district map.
Are there any questions or comments on the bill?
Motion in a second.
Oh, sorry.
That's
The
okay.
motion is second. Thank you. Second, okay. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor of first reading approval of Bill 11056, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Bill 11056 has passed first reading approval. Bill 11057.
Mayor and Council, this is an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into a Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission Surface Transportation Block Grant Program Supplemental Agreement Number 2 for the awarded Surface Transportation Program STP 5502612 Lindeman Road Improvement Project by increasing the federal grant Surface Transportation Funds amount by $320,417 for a new total amount of project costs to be reimbursed by 80% by federal share in the amount not to exceed of $1,670,154.
Do I have a motion and second to accept Bill 11057? So moved.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments?
Great job, Russ and Chris.
Awesome. All in favor of first reading approval of Bill 11057, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Bill 11057 has passed first reading approval. Bill 11058.
Mayor and Council, this is an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into a Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission Surface Transportation Block Grant Program Supplemental Agreement Number 2 for the awarded Surface Transportation Program STP 5502610 West Essex Reconstruction Project by increasing the federal grant Surface Transportation Funds amount by $360,480 for a new total amount of project costs to be reimbursed by 80% federal share in the amount not to exceed of $1,878,080.
Do I have a motion and second to accept Bill 11058 for first reading approval? So move. Are there any questions or comments?
Again, great job, Chris and Russ. I'm just calculating this. This is $3.5 million total, 680,000 just in new. Thank you guys for.
All in favor of first reading approval of Bill 11058, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Bill 11058 has passed first reading approval. Bill 11059.
Mayor and Council, this is an ordinance appropriating $597,011 from the general fund balance to the Police Department Machinery and Equipment account, accepting the grant of Missouri Department of Public Safety in the amount of $656,610.97, and accepting the proposal from Motorola Solutions Incorporated in the amount of $656,610.97 pursuant to a State of Johnson City, Kansas Cooperative, Johnson County, I believe it's Johnson County, Kansas cooperative contract for the purchase of new radios for the police department, with 50% of the funds to be reimbursed by grant share, and authorizing and directing the Director of Procurement to issue a purchase order.
Do I have a motion and second to accept Bill 11059 for first reading approval? So
Motion.
move. Great. Are there questions or comments? Awesome.
I did,
Yes.
I did verify it is Johnson County, Kansas.
Yeah.
All in favor of first reading approval of Bill 11059, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Bill 11059 has passed first reading approval. Resolution 159, 2024.
Mayor and Council, this is a resolution accepting the bid of Burns and Jones Construction in the amount not to exceed of $1,924,294.85, which includes a 10% contingency in the amount of $174,935.89 for construction services for the STP 5502612 Lindeman Road resurfacing project, and authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into a contract.
Do I have a motion and second to accept Resolution 159, 2024 as read?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions? Question?
Uh-huh.
Discussion or question?
Mhm.
Nothing? Roll call, please.
Mayor Gibbons?
Yes.
Councilmember McLean? Councilmember Reinecker? Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer?
Yes.
Councilmember Jack Sadek?
Yes.
Councilmember Lizzo?
Yes.
Resolution 159, 2024 has passed. City Council reports. Councilmember Letzow. Well, I just want to commend the Kirkwood Arts Commission and the Kirkwood Arts Foundation on awesome last week, the David Sanborn benefit concert I thought was super, and thanks to especially to Liz Crabtree and Joe Mancuso for being the two people on the ground working very hard to make it happen. But also the Arts Commission and Foundation, many of the members were actively involved in making the concert happen. Also, the presentation of the new piece of public art mensch that sits outside, stands outside of the K-PAC. I believe it's a gorgeous piece and it complements the building, and that was through the efforts of the foundation and the commission and donations from donors and fundraising and city funding that goes to the Arts Commission. I think those are both huge wins, and bravo. Yep, it was great. Councilmember Schaefer.
Thank you, Mayor. Library Board, a few notes that went on there. There was a gentleman that came to the library and said that when he passes, he was going to leave in his will some money to the library. Mr. Fred Binnicker, sorry, I may be butchering that name, left $150,000, significant money to the library in his will. So that's one good thing. One little bad thing with the water that we had, they had a flood in the basement because the sump pump went out. So that's not good. And then I'd like to say congratulations to the Kirkwood football team who's on their way to winning state. I'm not pushing it, guys. They came today to Rotary and spoke, and they were just great kids. I love that opportunity to meet with them. They're playing districts tomorrow night right here in Kirkwood. They're playing Jackson. So tickets are still available if you'd like to support. And then one public service announcement from an old plumber: take your outside hose bibs off, because your hose is off, because you're going to freeze. There you go. Sorry.
Very good. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, Mr. Zimmer.
Bring a little into a couple more. We can't always be serious all the time.
Thank you. Tuesday evening, I attended the Southwest Kirkwood Connectivity Public Meeting with the Meacham Park Neighborhood Improvement Association. Thank you to Mr. Raish for representing the city at that meeting. We faced some interesting questions and comments, and I think it was hopefully a positive experience to educate those folks in that area. Our goal there is to improve the connectivity of that area with the rest of the city. That is the goal. So thank you to everyone that participated. And since we are not meeting until then, happy Thanksgiving.
Great, thank you. Chief Administrative Officer report.
Yes, Mayor. The city received an application for a liquor license to sell intoxicating liquor by the drink plus Sunday from Napoli Kirkwood, 436 North Kirkwood Road. And the request would require city council approval by voice vote.
The applicant here? Yeah, hi.
Second first?
Oh.
Have discussion.
Stay right there. No, stay right there. I should have done a motion and a second first.
Second.
Okay. All right, now we're good to go. Hi.
My name is Jack Piatoso. I live at 13 Rio Grande Drive in St. Charles. And I'm representing my family's business to get a liquor license in Kirkwood, 5 other locations in St. Louis, and wanted to bring our talents and our drive for good service and good food to Kirkwood. We love this area. We love the restaurants around it and want to be part of this community. And, excuse me, we want to just, give a lot of our expertise to good Italian food and want to make everyone in the Kirkwood community happy with what we have to offer.
Can we line up after this and get reservations with you?
Yeah, we're hoping to open very soon, so.
When is your expected opening?
Well, if we get the liquor license, we're attempting to open up next week. I apologize about my attire, by the way. We've been working all day, all week long, every single day. This is the first building that I've been in since Napoli and my house, so.
Oh, wow.
Just been working constantly, so. Yeah.
Deserve a drink.
I'm sorry?
You deserve a drink.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But yeah, hopefully next, Monday or the week after that the next Monday after that is gonna be our day one.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Nay?
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank
You're
you for
welcome.
coming to Kirkwood.
Welcome.
Is there, Mr. Hustle, do you have any report?
I do. As we all know, our proposition for the TDD passed, but our work is not over yet. I just want to inform the council and general public that we still have some legal hurdles, although they're pretty short hurdles to clear. We need to get the certification of the election results, and I understand members of the council and staff are working hard to get that now. We will then have to appear in court. We'll file a motion for declaratory judgment, asking the court to issue an order organizing the TDD, approving the funding method, as well as calling for a board meeting. Again, this is all to comply with the state statute. We hope to get that motion filed. We will get that motion filed the first week in December. Hope to get a hearing before the judge mid-December. I'll say between December 16th, December 20th. In the meantime, the council will need to designate the mayor as one member of the board as well as another member of the board. The SBD will need to do the same. And then hopefully we'll get everything wrapped up before Christmas, and then there will be a board meeting in mid-January roughly. So again, I just want the council and the public to know that we're moving forward with it as quickly as we can, and we'll get all accomplished so that we can be ready to go come January and move forward next year.
And I just want to remind our citizens of the time frame on the TDD, because we're all anxious to get our streets looking pristine and being pristine. But the actual sales tax will not get enacted until July of 2025. And the first proceeds will be collected, and it'll be January or even a few months later of 26 before we can really start putting some use to that sales tax. So again, we thank the citizens for their support in this effort, and we're looking forward to getting all our streets in good shape. Okay. City Clerk report.
Yes, Your Honor, I have a couple things to report on. First is the report of the Planning and Zoning Commission from their last evening's meeting of November 20th. The following action was taken by a vote of 7-0. The commission recommended approval of a zoning code text amendment to change the size allowance in zoning code section 25-42I and the use specific standards in zoning code sections 25-45G and 25-45H relating to accessory structures in the residential zoning districts. A public hearing will be scheduled for that one for December 19th, which takes me to upcoming scheduled public hearings for December 5th. We have 3 items for that evening: a request for a zoning code text amendment on sidewalk requirements under section 25-69A2, a request for a zoning code text amendment on the color temperature of outdoor lighting under section 25-52, and a request for a zoning code text amendment regarding a marijuana facility or medical marijuana facility in section 25-36U3. That's all I have.
Very good. Thank you. Seeing no further business, this meeting is now adjourned. The next regular meeting is scheduled for Thursday, December 5th, 2024. Thank you.